Okay, hi everybody. I am Kim Quintal. I am the team lead at Quintal Realty Group, and we have Lucretia here with me. Right here, we're sharing a screen. Yay. Yes, we have Jenny here. We have Josh here. We have Melissa here, and our special guest tonight is Jesse. And we'll each come in and talk about their specialties and why using a team is beneficial to sellers, well, to buyers, but also to sellers. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share my little presentation here. All right, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our, obviously, seller webinar, which is going to be much different than a buyer webinar. First, to start off, we are Quintal Realty Group, and we are brokered by EXP. So between all of us, we have 18 years of experience, and all of that is here locally in the Humboldt County real estate market. Quintal Realty Group is a team rather than a solo agent. We'll get further into that and why that would matter to anybody, but we work as a team in order to do the best customer service that we can for our clients. Now, we're brokered by EXP Realty, which is a cloud-based brokerage. So using just the technology, cutting edge technology, right? All of our paperwork is up in the cloud. We can sign it all digitally. There's a lot of resources that we have access to by using EXP. And during COVID, that became even more valuable just because we were trying really to limit how much we were actually exposed to people. So EXP came in, they already had it, they already existed, but they've just grown exponentially during COVID and afterwards because of what they have to offer. So why would you use a team? Well, we've got, and thankfully we have many of these people on here. So we've got different roles for people on our team. One, we have a marketing director. So Melissa is here, and her and Emma work together on marketing your listing. So, and all of this is helping the solo, what would be a solo agent, by having someone separate doing all these things. It makes it that much better, that much quicker. So Melissa and Emma work as soon as we get a listing, they get that pushed out onto social media. We have postcards that go out immediately. We have print ads. We do YouTube, Gmail, not Gmail, sorry. Google My Business. Anything else, Melissa, you wanted to add to that? I'm trying to think.
I think that was it.
So anything, just pushing it out there just so more people can see it. We have a transaction coordinator. Lucretia, you want to talk a little bit about what that is and why that'd be important?
Well, I handle the back end of the transaction from start to finish. So any disclosures that are California mandated, basically, to collect, have signatures for, upload in the system. So what?
Compliance.
Yeah, compliance.
Yes.
Yeah, very important that we follow everything from, legal reasons to little tiny questions. I'm there for it all. So
yeah, and I even like for experience, like for me, I have probably the most experience in real estate on the team, and I still call Lucretia. Hey, what do we need to do? Do we need to do this form? Just because she keeps up with it, things change all the time. They update forms all the time. Lucretia really stays on top of that, so she knows what's going on. Huge asset, huge asset. So buyer's agents, and the reason I'm putting this because it seems so obvious, but all of us are acting as buyer's agents too. So I'll use an example. We did an open house this last weekend. We were all present, and each of us were able to work with different buyers through it. Now, if you have just a solo agent, sometimes those buyer leads will get lost because they're trying to do the transaction coordinating. They're trying to do the marketing. They can only talk to so many people at one time. So when you've got it set up this way, where each of us could take someone different and actually have, like I've got one of mine right here. That way, each of us go with a list and we nurture those people and follow up. Like, what'd you think at the showing? What'd you think at the open house? If they call in, we report our numbers every week to each other just to make sure that, hey, are we following up with people? That way we don't miss any possible leads for listings. So may seem like a minor thing, but it's really chasing everything possible for the seller.
It actually really helps also if one of us can't go show a home because we don't have that time available. We can actually have each other to help with that.
Yes. Oh, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And then staging. So we've got Jennifer on here. So let's talk a little bit about what that entails.
So staging has been known to boost a lot of things when it comes to real estate market. Getting people in and out of the door to come see your property. It has proven to increase the value of your home. It has proven to increase how quickly your home goes off the market. Staging is it's a very good, vital option to use when you are getting prepared to sell your home. It's not necessary for everybody, but there are a lot of positive aspects to having a stager come in. For my end, I help with not only staging, I can bring in furniture to a vacant home, but I can also help declutter your home and get it prepared for showings. Just to kind of give the potential buyers a better insight to see a space that they could actually see themselves living in.
Jesse liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And Jenny, you were talking a little bit, so I'm just going to check something here. You were talking about how you're able to, what was it's in Eureka, the store.
Vern.
Yeah.
Yes. So Vern's actually has partnered before with a couple real estate brokers to stage vacant homes. Depending on what kind of furniture pieces you want, if you want a living room, if you want a dining room, they have a structure built within their company to help produce that for homes before they go on the market.
That's awesome.
This picture right here, I will say.
Yes,
this was one of the stage houses that I did back in 2020. And yeah, so it's just, it was a vacant home. It was a beautiful living room, and putting this furniture in there just really boosted the look that you would get. And people were able to come in there and visualize themselves living in that space.
I'd say it makes huge difference. Okay, so we have on here some testimonials, and you can find them kind of throughout. We've got them on Zillow and Google. So that's just a little bit on there. Now I've broken down the timeline for listing into 4 categories. I would say it's almost 5, but just trying to keep it like real easy with the 4. So we have preparation, listing hits when it hits the market, negotiating offers, and then opening escrow to close of escrow. So I probably could have done escrows 4, close of escrow 5, but it's to me, I see doing these deals like painting a building where most of the work is done in the prep. So the better all of the prep work goes, the easier the paint goes on, right? So the more prep you do with getting your listing ready, the easier transaction will be. And I can't stress how important that is, because you don't realize, like, maybe before you get into it that you're stressed, but then once you get into escrow and you're trying to find a place to go, and if you're dealing with some of these things that you could have done in the preparation part, but you're dealing with it late in the game, whew, boy, that's going to make it stressful for you. So that's why preparation just has its own category. So 4 steps. Number 1, okay, so preparing for the market. So obviously finding an agent that works best for you. And then everyone kind of has different, oh, we got somebody, okay. Everyone has different needs for their agent. So I would say maybe, figure out what's the most important to you. And if it's, let's say it's communication or team or location or whatever, or someone you get along with. I mean, obviously you need to trust who you're working with. That would be a big deal. Item number 2, inspections before the market. I think this is really important because if you don't do it, your buyer's going to do those inspections. And if your buyer does the inspections and something comes up, they are most likely going to ask you for those repairs. If you already know ahead of time, you can do those repairs. So by the time it hits the market and they have an inspection, it's not even there anymore. Or you can already adjust that in your price. Like, hey, we know we need a new roof, but we're not going to reduce based on that. It just really helps with the negotiation. So that first 17 days, you're not as stressed. Pricing strategy. A lot of times people want to know, where should we price? Should we price higher knowing that the market's really hot, and hopefully get that? Should we price right at market? Should we price below market value to try to get more offers? So that I'm always going to be almost always a fan of just pricing at market value, if not just a hair under, not very much. I don't necessarily like going above, because then you're going to be chasing the market down. And it's really those early buyers that you want to try to catch. They're the ones that have been studying the market. They're pre-qualified. They're looking every single day. Those are the ones that come in, they write their offer strong from the beginning and they're ready to go, versus, if you're willing to wait 3 months, this market's a little bit different, but old stuff would be like 3-6 months. How long do you want to wait before you get the buyer, where you may end up with the same price you would have got otherwise? And sometimes even less than what you'd listed it for. So I've always been a fan of just right at market value. Now, staging for the market. Now, I know Jenny was talking about staging, but there's staging for the market. And then on the next one, we have for when you hit the market. So there's Jenny's part here, but then we'll also get into for showings, which is slightly different. And then Jesse, we have Jesse on here to talk about the professional photography. Like, what's your take? How to make those photos work the best?
For sure. Yeah. So to follow up with Jennifer on staging, is, as a professional photographer, I've been doing photography for 23 years. We've been specifically just doing real estate for the last 3 or 4 years. And what we see, I see the houses come on and off the market, and the houses that move quicker are the homes that were staged. It doesn't necessarily mean that the house has to be staged with not your furniture, but it does mean that, you need to prepare for photography. We do have a checklist that we send out to the owners and the real estate agents, so that you can kind of understand what we're looking for. Because what happens is, when your property is properly staged, your home will stand out from the rest. It creates a lasting impression on the buyers. And open houses and tours can easily overwhelm any potential buyer, and especially if the house is empty, what is to remember except for the backyard? What if the backyard isn't exactly the way that you wanted it to be, or you have an idea how that's going to be, but you want the potential buyers to remember that home, and by staging and maybe, or just decluttering, like Jennifer said, is your best bet. These are some facts from the California Realtors Association, is that that home staging increases the dollar value of residents between 6 to 10%. This is it's a fact. So if you think about that, if you list your home at $500,000, you stand to earn up to $50,000 just by staging or decluttering your home. Who doesn't want $50,000 extra from the sale of their home?
Really, when you think about it that way too, I mean, the price for staging is minor in how much you can potentially gain.
Exactly. Exactly. Now let's see. and just by staging, it features the home in its best light, helps would-be buyers envision it in its various possibilities. That's kind of what I have to say about that. But it just makes a difference. It makes your home stand out. Hopefully that will convey to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I have a question for you. I don't know if you keep these metrics at all, but with professional photography, and then, you also offer drone footage on top of that.
Correct.
And then you also have a website, like a website for the particular address. Are you able to see like what gets viewed?
Yes.
Okay, so what are people drawn to the most? And you also have the thing where you can walk around, like you hit the buttons and you walk around.
Correct. Yeah. So we do offer still photography, of course, inside and out of the home. We offer virtual tours, which is a 24-hour open house for your home. So potential buyers can view that home after they've done the open house, and they can kind of take a little extra time. Sometimes you're a little rushed to get to the next house. So it's always nice to have that virtual tour. You can follow up on it and view that virtual tour. And we also do drone photography, videography. We have all the marketing tools to help you sell your home in its best light. And we do offer a single page website for each property. Each property has, in that single page website, has the photos, the property description, the virtual tour, a slideshow, and it also has a map of the home. And within that map, you can switch to nearby places, which is a great little map that'll show you where the nearest restaurants are, and schools, and attractions near the home, parks, so on and so forth. So it's a cool little website that we build for each property.
Walkability is we were just talking about a tour this last Friday, how walkability is something that people are looking for. And I think even with gas prices having gone up too, that's probably even more of a factor for people.
For sure.
Yeah, so I could see where that map would be just in its own way. Like someone gets a listing that's in a really great location. I mean, always location, but even more so if you're located near restaurants and shopping and schools, and you don't have to pay that gas bill. Like I could see that. We need to remember that when Jesse posts that, to make sure that we market
and
that
then
properly.
with our website, we can actually pulling back into the question that you asked earlier was analytics. That through that website we can see who clicks on what, who spends time on this, where do we get those people to view it from. So that's all built into the agent side. You can look at those analytics and you could see where your clients are coming from. Are they coming from MLS? Are they coming from Zillow, or so on and so forth? So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So when I go into my little account, I can see. Okay.
Yep.
I'm a nerd. I like to look at stuff like that. Like, okay, what's working, right? Like, where's that? Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
Yeah. So now let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about, the photography is kind of like the most important thing when people that's where everybody's shopping, is online. So we're putting together the best media package so that people can learn fully about the property before they make that decision to actually go to the open house. Another study from California Realtors Association was the most important things to home buyers. And number one, I believe, was a property description. Number two is the photos, obviously. Number three is a floor plan. And a floor plan is one of the major things that we do offer. And that floor plan is usually within the top 10 photos, so people get to see that. understand the layout of the home, so they are know like, okay, little Johnny's going to stay in this room and little Susie's going to stay in that room, and then we're going to have this room and this will be the office. And will that work for our family dynamic too? Because there are some families that have special needs, so it really helps them understand the layout of the property. And then of course, number 4, I believe, is virtual tours, is like the most important thing to homebuyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the floor plan would be that high up there, but it makes sense because you want people, and also if they have little kids, they may want to be the bedrooms closer, but if they have older kids, they don't want the bedrooms. They want the split floor plan, like make all the noise over there, you guys.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Jennifer, do you have anything to follow up on that, on staging?
No, I mean, I think you kind of hit it. It's just the preparation for the market is, or I guess I should say during the market, is just keeping your home in that specific way, for the showings that are going to happen down the road. So, helping the process of decluttering, when the photos are taken, you really want to try and keep your home the way that those photos were taken, in the best shape that it can be. And you really want to try your best to keep it as tidy as you can. And hopefully that will help it sell faster.
Yeah. And I want to stress too that timing of when you do all of this too. I think that's actually on my next slide. How important that is, because sometimes people will take photos and then they'll say, oh, now I went and I did all these things. Let's come take another, they want another photo too. And I just say, just wait until you're ready. Wait until you've finished doing what you need to do so that you can stage it. And those photos are kind of your first shot. And then when you go on the market, you go on, your first day on the market is its first day. It's not like today and the next week we're going to add to it and the next week we're going to add to it. You want to have your best impression that very first day that it hits the market with the best photos that you can, with the best description that you can. And if it's not selling, then maybe you need to make some adjustments, but you want to be ready right then and there. Okay. So timing, yes, hitting the market, timing. So that has a couple different parts to it. One being, being prepared, like we're saying, like having all the photos done and being ready, but also I would say timing of the week. I really like to list on Wednesdays or Thursdays. As people are kind of, Monday, everybody's back at work. They maybe aren't necessarily watching. No, they are watching, but Wednesdays and Thursdays, and you can plan your open house and for that weekend. So if you hit the market Wednesday or Thursday, you have an open house that weekend. There's still a lot of stuff going on. People are excited and they want to come check it out. So timing, I really do believe, is crucial. Now, okay, so Jenny, you touched on this a little bit. So number 3, how to stage for showing. So this would be a little different than just staging for the photos.
Yes. Like I kind of jumped the gun earlier. Whoops.
Okay.
Just keeping your house as tidy as possible. Low maintenance, if you can. Basically when you go into getting your home prepped, you want to try and keep everything a low maintenance, so it's not going to be exhausting for you to keep your house in good showing condition. I understand, people that sell homes have kids, and kids, love their toys and they're out everywhere. So, you want to make sure that you just schedule enough time during your day, that if you do have showings happening that day, that you give yourself enough time just to make sure, like I said before in the photos that get taken for your home, try and keep your home in that shape. And that will honestly help push your home faster. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I have.
Yeah. What about, how do you feel about baking cookies and having flowers?
Honestly, I think that would be awesome. If you show up earlier, and just get like the peel apart cookie doughs and throw them in the oven. Yeah, totally. or even, I guess, come in with a fresh batch. I would think that cooking them is what really puts the aroma in the air. You know, I know that when we did the open house last Saturday, those candles, like they made the ambiance, you know, they really helped just kind of, you know, set the mood, you know, for people that came in. You know, turning on lights, you know, depending on how many windows or how bright it is, you know, natural light always wins through. But, you know, if you do an evening showing or if it's a cloudy day, you know, make sure you're turning lights on. And maybe if you have a small little, you know, Bluetooth speaker, you know, you could put a Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen and play some soft music. You know, it's kind of like a first date. You want to set the mood.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I felt like the open house. I mean, when you say like, it was real, like
Yeah.
music in the background, fresh bread was made, the candles were going.
It's very welcoming, the whole thing. I think even with having our team there made it even more welcoming. These people had multiple people to talk to. And
Josh would grab him outside. He was like, hi, and he would give the whole tour of the outside, and then they would come in and see us, and we had different tours going on. So it felt like that was like, okay, that's how we do an open house, you know, like listed on Wednesday, open house, all the advertising had it in there, you know, here's the weekend for the open house, and it just was cozy. Like, really good.
Yeah, I read years ago that cookies have, you know, you put vanilla in your cookies, but vanilla is like a scent that this university did a study, and they did sales presentations to people with the scent vanilla and different scents, of course. And what ended up happening is the people that were exposed to this vanilla scent ended up buying more.
That's so funny. You know, there's like stats for everything. It's like, if we, you know, like there's this whole number theory too about how you list what you list your house at. Oh, and that's a whole nother, I didn't even think about adding that to this, is pricing, you know, part of the pricing strategy. Okay. So this is interesting. So we just listed that house at 600, right? Most people would say list at 599 because it's got the 5 in front of it. But we decided to go with 600 because really we're seeing so many people also looking from other areas, like out of, you know, the Bay Area or whatever. Some people may start their search at 600. So if we list it 599, it won't even register on their search, right? You only have people up to 599. So at 6, we're catching the people up to 6 and the people after 6. So like there really is a lot to be said for numbers. There's a couple realtors who they'll list, like, let's say the price is 324, they'll do 324, 423. Like they'll do like a mirror of it. And there's probably some sort of interesting psychology to it. I just don't know, you know, but it's just 2s are supposed to be a great number, 2s and 3s. I don't know, you know, that's part of the strategy, I suppose. But yeah. Okay. So, and item number 4. So I know we're moving out of COVID, but I just want to stress that it is for a seller, it's your house. So if you need to have people wear masks, because it's not required anymore, but you can definitely make that you know, like anyone who comes here needs to wear a mask. We still have all our hand sanitizer. We took it with us to the open house. We also make everyone sign in, and right there at the sign-in sheet, they have the hand sanitizer. We had booties inside. You know, there's still ways to be cautious. So even as we're seeing COVID kind of take a back seat to things, it doesn't mean as the seller that you have to be subject to that. Like if someone's coming in your house and you are very nervous about it, you can absolutely have those rules as far as showing it. And we would be happy to accommodate that. That was mostly what we did, right?
Yeah.
Booties, hand sanitizer, masks, gloves. Yeah. I'm not sure if I have gloves anymore, but yeah, that was the thing. Okay. So, step 3, so negotiating the offer. So do you need to buy? So this is a big question. So once you're a seller, are you also a buyer? So if you're selling your house, do you need to buy something? And this is a huge question right now because people, like, let's say we fell in love with this house, but I need to sell my house in order to buy, but they won't accept my offer because I need to sell my house first. So what we're doing a lot of is rent backs. Sellers are renting back, and you negotiate that right up front. We need a rent back 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days. I have one right now that they're renting back for 4 months at 0 monthly payment, right? So you negotiate that right up front. And that way you close the deal, you get the money in your pocket, and then you have 2 weeks, 30 days, 4 months to go shop for your replacement property. So that's a really important thing to know, obviously, right up ahead of time. And it's not impossible to do. We're doing a ton of them. We're also seeing some lenders offering, Barbie, it's
a cash buy process. So they go in and they buy your house for cash. And then after it's completed, then it goes into a loan process.
yeah, so they'll buy the house and then you rent from them, right?
Right.
Like, so you stay in your own house, but now you have the cash. You pay rent to them, but now you have the money to go purchase. So there's a lot of companies kind of popping up with these alternative ways of purchasing, because contingencies to sell are hard, but there's solutions to that. Item number 2. So typically, like, a normal contract in California has 17 days for inspection contingencies. We're seeing those shortened and we're seeing them waived right now. Now you can always back out, but you would lose your earnest money deposit, right? So that's, if you're putting, depending on how much money you put up there. I mean, that's a hard one. You always want to be able to have your inspections. You want to know what you're buying, but to be competitive, sometimes you're kind of given a little bit on this in order to be competitive. And that's the same with 3 and 4, or sorry, as a seller, you'll see offers that have shorter inspection periods or have it waived. Item 3, loan and appraisal contingencies. Again, in a more normal market, these are 17 days, but we are seeing people waive these, and also doing appraisal gaps. And what that is the buyer is telling you, hey, we're willing to pay $500,000, and we will pay that as long as the house appraises for at least $400,000. So they're telling you they're going to pay $100,000 gap guaranteed. Where if they just remove that contingency, then they could back out and lose their earnest money. But by doing a gap, they're promising a certain amount of money. I mean, we don't always see $100,000. It's easy math there. So sometimes it's $5,000. Sometimes it can be a large amount too. But from the seller side, we're starting, you'll start to see things like that. And appraisals are just kind of, the market's been going up faster than appraisals have been going, because appraisals are always looking backwards on what's sold. But this market over the last 2 years has moved at such a quick pace that the appraisals aren't necessarily catching up to it. So that's what makes it really challenging. Just side note, for first-time home buyers versus people who have cash. Cash buyers don't care what it appraises. They do, but they can buy it, where a first-time home buyer may not have that ability to do that appraisal gap. So that's a little bit tough there. And I put other terms in here, just anything and everything. So it's timeframes for inspections. That's usually the biggest. That earnest money deposit, the more money they have down, the stronger they look, because that's how much money they're willing to risk. Let's say if they waive inspections and then they don't like it, they're willing to risk that much money. Down payment just helps you with the loan type. And then the more money they have down for their down payment is also going towards that appraisal gap too. Like, they probably have some money behind them to be able to offset an appraisal difference. Some of those other loans are great too. The VA loans are great, even though that's 100% financing. Those can be really, really great loans. So don't necessarily throw those out because of the down payment. I mean, don't throw it out because of the down payment. You can get some history on the buyers just so you know how strong they are, or talk to the lender. Other terms, appliances,
Right.
Sewer lateral. Certain cities in Humboldt County and throughout the state have different requirements. The sewer lateral needs to be completed at time of sale. So that's another thing. Typically, a seller's going to pay for that, but we're seeing that 50-50. Sometimes buyer will pay for it. So that's all negotiable. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Yeah. So then also, like, any of your closing costs. So escrow has fees and the title fees. A lot of times that's 50-50, but maybe the buyer's going to offer to pay all of those.
Which we are seeing. I am definitely seeing contracts right now.
Yeah, where the buyer's paying all of them.
Yes, very much so.
Any other terms you guys can think of, Jenny? Josh?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Josh just got accepted on an offer, I think, tonight. So I'm trying to think if there's anything fresh on your mind about it now. Okay. But all kinds of terms. And I've even had this come up with lighting. There was a light in the living room and no, same house, a different item. There were plants that had come from Japan that were planted in the front yard. And when you sell your house, you are selling the plot of dirt that your house happens to reside on. And she wanted to keep those plants, and it freaked the buyer out, and she backed out because of the plants. So, I mean, you've got all kinds of things that it's not always about how much money it is, right? It's like, there's all these other terms. So, just looking over the offer incompleteness would be helpful on all that, and talking to, knowing what goes with the property. Okay. Okay. So escrow to close. So this is the one that's kind of crammed it all in one, but, so once you have an accepted offer, we'll open escrow with an escrow company, and they're going to take that earnest money deposit. They will run a title report to make sure that there's no liens on the property. But part of the preparation here, and actually I should have put this on that very first one, is to have a pre-escrow done. So Lucretia is the TC. When we get a new listing, she'll order a pre-escrow with the escrow company, and we run that title report right away. So we can see if you have any different liens. People forget, like I've had home equity line of credit that was taken out 40 years ago and paid off 20 years ago, but they never had it taken off the title report. So it still shows up. By doing it ahead of time, we can chase that. So by the time we have a buyer, there's no longer a lien on the property. Solar panels are going to show up sometimes on escrow or on title reports. Some tax liens. Yeah. So then we have to work with the IRS to get that removed. Sometimes people have personal liens against them, child support liens, different things like that. That all has to get cleared up with the title company. So doing that ahead of time, again, prepping, makes it so much easier, because it can be really hard to get some of this stuff removed. Once you get an accepted offer, any inspections that you hadn't done prior, or even, buyer could choose to do a new inspection too. You're going to go through your inspection period. So that's all negotiable. You're going to get an appraisal. You don't really have much you have no say on who does that, but you don't have a say on how long it takes. So you could just order it right away and hopefully it happens. But Humboldt County, I think it's probably all over the place, has a hard time getting appraisers. Yeah. Sometimes out of the area, but I've noticed out of the area, lenders have a little bit harder time than local ones. And I think it's just because local ones have special relationships with lenders is what my guess is. So once you get through all of that, once you get through your inspection period, mostly you're you can negotiate, you can move forward, or you can cancel. So those are your choices. And at that point, if you cancel, you can get your earnest money back. The buyer can. So the seller, it's good to always be aware that they do have those 17 days or whatever you've negotiated time frame that they can back out, but they would be out there. You get to keep the reports too. And those get paid for, because pest inspectors don't care if you buy the house or not. They're just there to tell you about pests. So escrow, inspections, I should put request for repair in there. Appraisal, so that usually happens later just because we have very few appraisers. So they'll appraise the property, and then when that comes back, you'll take a look at that, and that's usually the final piece for the buyer's package. And then they have they'll go to underwriting with their lender and get the final, it's called clear to close, which is a very exciting day. They get the clear to close, they make the loan documents, and then you can close escrow. Now the keys, this is often something people don't think about. Keys in the contractor to be delivered by 6 p.m. on the day it closes escrow. So if you close at 10, the seller technically doesn't have to be moved out of there until 6 p.m. that day. And that's when you hand over the keys. But unless you negotiate that difference. So you can say, I want the keys by 10 on that day. I want the, or in a seller rent back, you get 3 days after close of escrow, we'll give you the keys after that. The deal I have right now where they're doing a 4-month rent back, we're making them a set of keys, and then once we leave, we'll give them we just kept one set of keys. So that's all negotiables, but the default on the contract is 6 p.m. on the day it closes escrow. So that's kind of a lot. Okay, emphasis obviously in the preparation, right? The other slides for here's how do you prep, and then okay, great, here's escrow. And this is all pretty well lined out in contracts once you get going. But like I said, if you do a really good job with that beginning part, that prep part, this part, you always run into bumps, but this will go smoother if you've done all the prep properly. Any questions on that? I think we're all probably pretty familiar with it. Okay. Other things affecting value. So aside from the things that we talked about, obviously location. And I'm really loving Jesse's map about talking about how close other things are. Like I really want to use that to really stress that walkability. And then property condition. So your lender's going to order the appraisal. That's the eyes for the bank, the appraisal is. So not your lender, sorry, the buyer's lender is going to order the appraisal. So they look for health and safety issues. So peeling paint is always a thing. If you have like a falling down back deck, that's going to get called out. So taking care of those things ahead of time, again, is just going to make it so much easier. Because like I said, the appraisal is often happening towards the very end of escrow. And then if they note something and you're about to close, right? Like you're ready to close and move on to your next one, but your appraiser noted something that has to get fixed. Now, all of a sudden you're pulling your hair out, trying to rebuild a deck because it got called out. Had you done that previously, that would have been taken care of and not such an issue. So again, prep work, but these are two important things affecting value. And, it's funny to me, the roofs, like we could talk about roofs or what was something that came up recently? Like a heater, like the heater didn't work or something like that. And so the seller was going to, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to fix the heater. Okay. And so they want to increase the price by that, but it's more of if it's not working, it's more of a deduction, not an add-on, because people are going to assume that you have heat. So you can't just add on to the price because now you have heat. It would be more what the value would be if you didn't have heat, right? Like you're going to take off because of your condition. So it's kind of a funny thing. Like we just put in a brand new heater, it's like, well, it's not, let's say it costs 5,000. We can't really add 5,000. We can add a little bit, but not necessarily the 5,000. So that's all something we can talk to you individually about. Yeah. So goodness. Okay. So that's all the stuff I have. So just thank you for watching this. This is our website here, liveworkplayhumboldt.com. This is the phone number to our team. Reach any of us. Any of us would be happy to help. And then that's my email address if you have questions, direct. And do you guys have anything else you want to add in here?
Good job.
Yeah.
Josh, did you want to add anything? I didn't ask you any questions. I can't hear you.
Take
I
your
found it. Okay, I was just trying to find the mute button. I couldn't find it. Just to tell you that I don't have anything to add. So.
Okay.
But I was off for a minute because I was talking to Luis and Irma, so they're super excited about being accepted. So.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations.
Yay.
Yes. Alicia, do you have any questions? Good to see you on here too.
No, I don't, but thank you for letting me join in.
Yes, of course. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so thank you. So that was all of our contact information. I'm gonna stop the recording.